In today's video, I let you, the community, invest $10,000 into different Pokemon items. We did a live stream a couple of weeks ago where I spun a wheel to choose what kind of item you could pick, whether it was sealed, ungraded, or graded cards. And then I had a budget wheel ranging from $100 to $2,000, I believe. We picked 3 people from the live chat to pick an item that fit that category. We did a final vote at the end using everyone there, and that product that won got added to our $10,000 community portfolio. I'm gonna go through and tell you guys my thoughts on the choices that were made, what were going on through my head, and it's been a little bit so we can kind of see how things are doing now in today's market. This video is also sponsored by Collector, so big thank you to them. More on them later, but without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first round, it was a sealed $300 product round, which is pretty good. You can buy tons of items for $300, and the 3 items that were chosen was an Evolving Skies ETB, the regular one, a Brilliant Stars booster box, and a Paradox Rift booster box. So off the bat, I think all 3 are great choices to start off with. Now the booster boxes typically are a little bit more sought after than ETBs in general, but Evolving Skies is objectively the best set out of those 3. So it's a little bit of, do you want the better set or the slightly more popular product? Paradox Rift versus Brilliant Stars. I think Brilliant Stars is a better set. It's a little bit older. I think the hits are slightly better. So out of those 2, my personal choice would have been the Brilliant Stars. Now you got to compare the Brilliant Stars to the Evolving Skies ETB. I've never been personally the biggest fan of Evolving Skies. I think Evolving Skies is a great set, but the price was always kind of like, is it really worth that much? And of course the market is what it is. So just on personal preference, the Brilliant Stars booster box I would have picked over the Evolving Skies ETB, but the community decided that the Evolving Skies ETB was the right choice. So we ended up picking that up for $238. The budget is there to give a cap really, but you don't have to spend all $300. We're trying to increase our portfolio, we want it to grow, so we want to make smart decisions, not necessarily the most expensive ones. The second round was a $300 graded slab this time, so a big budget still, and now we're in the slab territory. You can still get a lot of great items for $300. The 3 choices was the Venusaur EX 151 PSA 10, a Squirtle illustration rare from 151 PSA 10, and the Bulbasaur Stellar Crown PSA 10 as well. My choice, obviously guys, I'm rocking with the Bulbasaur. Objectively, I think it is one of the best Bulbasaur arts that they ever made, and it will probably be the only time that Bulbasaur is a chase hit from a set. You can't go wrong with the other 2. 151 is a very popular set, and the other 2 are very popular in Pokemon. But with the reprints going on, you know, who knows how that will affect the value long term. The community agreed with me, probably a little bit biased. They wanted to add some Bulbas in there, but we picked up the Bulbasaur Stellar Crown. That is what we added right on over here. Again, I really think it is, in a vacuum, this is the best Bulbasaur art for every card they ever made. Great pick by the team. Third round was a $100 slab, so still in the slab territory, but now we're dropping our budget to $100, which isn't too much for a slab, but there are definitely some great options that can be had. So the 3 options were the Pikachu Crown Zenith PSA 10. It's like the full art. I think objectively that is a very nice looking card, but because there's so many copies of it, it's just not worth that much. And then there was the Japanese Charizard V-Star fighting the Mewtwo from V-Star Universe PSA 10. That one's pretty cool. And the last but not least, a PSA 9 Mega Sableye and Tyranitar alt art, but the case was damaged, like the slab was cracked. So the criteria when I was doing this live stream was they had to be available for purchase on eBay or TCGPlayer at the time. So this person found that and decided to roll with that. I personally would have went with maybe like a smaller tag team that was a PSA 10, because PSA 10s are just a little bit more liquid and sought after, especially with the case damage in PSA 9. This one would be on the bottom of my list. I would have went with the Charizard V-Star from V-Star Universe because it is a fantastic art fighting the Mewtwo, but it's a fraction of the cost of the English. So it's a great option for those on a budget but still want to enjoy that great artwork. And the Pikachu Crown Zenith is no slouch by any stretch of the imagination, but just because there's so many of them, I would say comparatively, and the like Crown Zenith reprints and all that going on, I would have went with the Charizard V-Star, but the community did not agree. They went with the Pikachu Crown Zenith. It is right on over here. So as you guys can see, it is just a great artwork. It's multiple Pokemon with Pikachu at the forefront. This card, if it was rarer to get, harder to pull, or a little bit more exclusive, would definitely be worth a lot more money. But because it's super easy to pull and grade, it is just, the supply is just really high right now, so the price is not that much. So we'll have that over there. Hey guys, I wanted to tell you about today's video sponsor, Collector, which is a must-have app for any card collector out there. Collector allows you to have everything in one place, and it's so nice to be able to keep track of everything on a day-to-day basis instead of the usual spreadsheet. It does everything for you, and it's super simple to use. The entire app is completely for free as well. There is a paid membership with extra perks, and I think it's totally worth it. One of my favorite features of the Pro membership is the scanner. This thing is an absolute game changer. I'm gonna show you right now. I got 6 slabs right here that I will rapid fire. All you have to do is take pictures, and it will load up and get ready the prices and slabs to add to your collection. So right there, we have the Pikachu, Mewtwo, Bulbasaur, Alakazam, Eevee, Dragonite already. I did 6 slabs in like 10 seconds. You can knock out like massive collections in a couple of minutes. It's super nice. You just add it to your collection like that. You can change the quantity, the price, all of that stuff. It'll track everything. You can have multiple portfolios. You can split it up. It is a game changer, guys, for anyone who wants to keep track of their collection. Thank you again to Collector for being a sponsor. Let's get back to the video. So for the next round, we are still on slabs. We rolled slabs again, but we increased the budget to $250. The 3 choices this time were the Eevee Illustration Rare from Twilight Masquerade PSA 10, a Japanese Sylveon EX from Terrestrial Festival PSA 10. At the time we did this stream, Terrestrial Festival was fairly new. I think like only a couple of weeks from release. And then last but not least, a Japanese spiky-eared Pichu Mega from the movie. It was a holo PSA 10, very unique. I've honestly never really heard or seen of this before till this person brought it up. And because of that, I personally would have went with the Eevee Twilight Masquerade. It is a great Eevee art. Multiple Eevees, you can't go wrong. I believe it was also on the up and up at the time. So would have been a great pick. I think it would have won. The Sylveon EX looks great objectively, but because it's Japanese, it tends to be easier to grade, and because it was new, that combination typically means that the value is gonna drop as more and more people grade it and open it. And then again, the spiky-eared Pichu, it looked really nice, but it was super niche. It didn't sell very often. There wasn't that many listings. So it was a little bit more of a wild card. So high risk, high reward, I would say. And that's actually the one the community picked. They chose a spiky-eared Pichu. It is right over here. So maybe you guys have seen it before. I definitely have it. 2009. It is pretty old. It was a new assert PSA 10, and I think it does look really cool, like with the hollow pattern. It's kind of like a disco effect. So I'm not upset with this at all. Hopefully it does well in the future. It is very, when I was looking at it, I don't believe there were any sold. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was the only one on the market. So unique pick, and I would say I don't regret it at all. You can always get the Eevee, and I believe the Eevee has dropped since then. This card is just a very nice, cool pickup. Underdog, and happy with that one. 5th round, we are finally on singles. Now, I'm not personally that big on singles. I would say most of the community is. So this one was a $250 singles. You can buy a lot. It's not limited to quantity. I'm sorry, you can get, I told the people that they could get like enough quantity to hit the budget. So for $250, you can get 5 $50 cards as long as it's the same card. So that being said, the 3 items chosen was the Welder Full Art from Unbroken Bonds. That is definitely out of left field. He picked 4 of those because I believe they were going for like 60 bucks or so. And then there was the Mew EX 151 promo card from the UPC. At the time, we were able to get 6, so he chose 6 of those. And then the last one was a single Blaziken EX from Team Aqua, Team Magma, near mint condition. out of all three of these, I personally wouldn't have really picked either. Like, I think they're all kind of out of left field. If I had to have $250 to put in a singles, it would not be those. If I had to choose, I would say the Mew EX 151 probably would have been my pick, because the Blaziken EX is cool. Don't get me wrong, I love Blaziken, but it's vintage-ish. Pretty much EX is vintage at this point. And those typically don't move that much, whether it's up or down. And then the Welder Full Art from Unbroken Bonds, I don't think that's a very popular card, so I don't see how that could do well in the future. So I would not have really gone for that. The Mew EX is new. I think the art is probably the best out of, well, the Blaziken's great, but it's great art. So I would have went with that, but to my surprise again, maybe the chat is on the niche run. They picked the Blaziken EX Team Aqua Magma near mint. Now, I did order one on TCGPlayer. It came in and it was a little bit too damaged for my liking. So I ended up finding a near mint PSA 7 copy for $200. So right under budget still. And this one is very, very clean. If you look on the back, minimal whitening. If you got this in the mail as near mint, I'd be very happy. And newer cert, all that, there's a swirl. So cool card. I'm not really hating just because I'm a Blaziken fan. I just don't think, well, at least at the time, that it would go up. Nowadays, EXs are going up, so maybe the guy had some crazy foresight. Cool card nonetheless. I think it adds a little bit of diversity for sure so far into our portfolio, because right now we have Japanese, sealed, modern, and now we have EX vintage era stuff. So happy with that pickup. Next up for the 6th round, we got ourselves a Giga Banger. $550 budget on slabs. For some reason, the wheel for picking the product was just hitting slabs all the time. It was a 33% chance for all three. So for $550, we have 3X Temporal Gengar Full Art PSA 10s. That was a pretty cool card. And to get 3 of them, not too bad. The other choice was a PSA 9 Mewtwo, the one test tube Mewtwo from Shining Legends. PSA 9 is still a good grade because that card was notorious for having like the white speckles and just being overall bad condition, even if it was packed fresh. So PSA 9 is a pretty good grade for that card. And last but not least, a Melodic Surging Sparks PSA 10. So out of those three, I honestly would have went with the Mewtwo just because I think it's a really, really cool card. And the PSA 10 is worth so much more. So even if you're getting the PSA 9, typically PSA 9 for mono cards is kind of frowned upon. But because of the history of that card and how hard it was to pull and grade, I think PSA 9 for that is absolutely fine and objectively is the best art out of those. The Melodic Surging Sparks is beautiful, but it is a newer set. And again, I typically try, or not, maybe not try not to, but I think that it is more likely to go down for modern PSA 10s because more people are pulling them, grading them, etc. So I wouldn't have picked that, even though I do think it is a very good card. And the Temporal Gengar Full Art's not a bad choice at all. I think that'd probably be my second pick because it does look good. Full Arts aren't that popular anymore, even though it is a popular Pokemon in Gengar. You do get 3 of them, so there's the upside of having a little bit of, you know, boost. If one of them goes up a little bit, you get 3 of them. So PSA 10 of that, can't go wrong, but the community in a landslide victory picked the Mewtwo as well. Everybody loves that card. It is a fan favorite for a reason. It is right here. If you've never seen it before, I mean, it's like movie vibes, test tube vibe, very unique, very hard to grade in a 10 as well. This is a pretty clean copy. We picked this one up for $420. I believe it's worth a lot more now. So the guy that picked this is doing a fantastic job. So yeah, happy to add that one in. For the 7th round, we had Slab again, $350 budget. Surprisingly, we're not hitting really much of the low budget $100, $150 on the wheel. And we keep getting slabs. I'm not complaining. As you guys can see, I'm mostly a slab collector myself. We had a Japanese Bubble Meat PSA 10, very popular choice. Japanese 151 Charizard EX, that's a good one as well. And then last but not least, the Ghastly Illustration Rare from Temporal Forces. Out of those 3, I do think Bubble Mew is very, very popular. Once upon a time, still a little bit today, but definitely last year, you could not hold on to Bubble Mews at all. If you ever got one at a booth, like when I was vending at a show, it would be instantly gone, whether it was English or Japanese. Everyone loves that art. It does look very nice, it's very cute. Bubble Mew, and the Japanese version is a lot cheaper than the English version, so it's great for people on a budget. Same, pretty much exact same thing for the 151 Charizard. In terms of like the budget, it is a lot cheaper than the English. I would say it's not as popular, but probably my second pick. And lastly, the Ghastly illustration rare. I do know at one point it was very hyped up, it was very expensive. You know, you got all three, you got Gengar, Ghastly, and Haunter in the background. It's a cool card, but I do think compared to the others, I would rather personally have the Bubble Mew, and the chat agreed with me. That is what they picked. It wasn't even close, really. We picked one up for $296. It's still about the same price right now. This is exactly why people love it. I mean, you got the Digletts in the background, the Poliwag, Oddish, Rattata, Bellsprouts. Super colorful, super cute. Can't go wrong with it. I think this is a great choice. No complaints at all there. 8th round, we have, and finally, we're on a sealed $450 round. Now again, guys, sealed tends to be a little bit more expensive once you go for like the booster box or ETB range for maybe the middle era stuff or the higher end modern. But we got $450 on sealed. The choices was a Fusion Strike booster box, 151 Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box, and a unique Hoenn Collection Primal Groudon EX box. Personally, I don't remember what Fusion Strike was at the time, but it was expensive. I think it was around $400, and I thought that was crazy. Nowadays, they're $700, $800, $900, I should say. So that is still an insane price in my opinion. So I think at the time I was like, that's a high price. I would have went with the 151 Pokemon Center ETB. They don't reprint those typically, and it's 151, one of the most popular sets in recent history. It's a set that got a lot of people back into the game, and it's got Snorlax on it, which is a very popular Pokemon. It looks great, so I would have went with the 151 Pokemon Center ETB. The Hoenn Collection Primal Groudon EX box, I think it's a cool looking card, but typically collection boxes never ever do as well as the sealed booster box, ETB, or even packs from the same set or era. Like, you'd be better off buying any of those products compared to a collection box. Those are more so, in my opinion, just because they look cool, they're a little bit more unique. But in terms of trying to get something that grows in value, you'd be better off, like if it was a Primal Groudon EX, but I don't know the packs in there. Let's say it was Primal Clash. I don't know how much the box was either, but you would be way better off if you bought a Primal Clash ETB at the time, because those go for thousands of dollars these days. So I personally would have stayed off. That would have been my last pick. And the community picked 151 Pokemon Center ETB. We picked one of those up for, I believe it was $300 or something. All right, 9th round, back-to-back sealed. This time it's $350. This time the chat wanted me to throw in my own 2 cents, basically like a celebrity pick. So for my choice, I went with 12 Hidden Fates packs just cause I wanted to put some packs in there. I know we could buy the ETB, but I just thought it'd be a little bit more fun to have just packs, 2 more packs compared to just an ETB. The other 3 choices was 3 Japanese 151 booster boxes, a Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB, so another Pokemon Center Modern ETB pick, and then the Remix Bout Japanese booster box. Out of the others though, I would have gone with, it's tough. 151 Japanese booster box is pretty good, and then the Prismatic Evolution, same thing I said about the 151, all the thing. They don't reprint it, popular, it's the Eevee. I probably would have went with the 151 booster boxes though. But the community agreed that the Prismatic Evolutions was the move, so we went with that one. So now we have 2 Pokemon Center ETBs of modern sets. For the 10th round, the Big 10, we got a $1,000 budget, and it was at PSA Slab. $1,000 if we hit raw singles would have been crazy. I guess you would have to get like an alt art or something, or just maybe a whole bunch of smaller cards. The three options was a Bubble Mew, but this time in English PSA 10, Surging Sparks Pikachu PSA 10, and 4 Japanese Armored Mewtwo PSA 10s. Now, personally, I love Armored Mewtwo. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous card. I've been collecting it for years. It used to be like a $30 card in English. Now it's pretty sure it's like a $120 or something. And the Japanese version is just as cool, and it was way cheaper. I think PSA 10s, if I recall, were at one point $80 or so. Now, when he sent this over, they were $250 lowest listing, but they were not selling for $250. If I recall, they were going for like $150 to $200. So if we did buy it, based on the criteria of it has to be available on eBay at the time, it would have cost us a huge premium. So because we did look at that, I would have steered away from buying 4, because typically you could get like 6 or so for $1,000. But otherwise I would have picked that. So then I went with the Bubble Mew just because it is exactly what I said, one of the most popular. Some argue it is the best SIR in all of Scarlet and Violet. I typically think it's the Greninja, but Bubble Mew's right up there, and then others say Magikarp, but that's not really an SIR. And then the Surging Sparks Pikachu, same thing with Melodic. New set, people are grading it, they're opening it. Typically, it'll go down in price, and that is what happened if you're looking at it now in the market. So the community ended up picking the Bubble Mew English PSA 10, but it was literally neck and neck. When I did it, I had a poll for all 3, and it was like 40, 39, and the other 20%. So then I did another re-poll for just the 2, and it ended up being 50-50. So the community could not pick between the Armored Mewtwo and the Bubble Mew, but someone had a great idea to why not get both, because the Bubble Mew at the time was like $750-ish, and the Japanese Armored Mewtwo again was $250. Technically, those both fit under the $1,000 budget, and because it is a community portfolio, we did end up spending all $1,000, and we got both the Bubble Mew and Armored Mewtwo. So if you haven't seen it before, Armored Mewtwo, it is absolutely cool, super unique. Now, the only difference between Japanese and English is like the yellow border. I think this looks so much better because it matches the colorway. And then now you have the Bubble Mew. It's just a modern staple that you would not mind having in any collection. So Mew and Mewtwo, what a round for $1,000 added to our community portfolio. Back-to-back Mews. 11th round, we dropped way down on budget. We're doing $150, and this time I had a special wheel called like categories, where it would be like you buy something of a certain type, so ETB, booster box, and this one was trainer card. So $150 trainer card. It could be ungraded, it could be graded. The 3 options was a red and blue full art ungraded, I believe from Unified Minds. That one's a pretty cool one, near mint condition. There's a PSA 9 Reds Challenge, and then a Japanese red and blue full art PSA 10. The exact same one as the ungraded, but this time it was Japanese and PSA 10. So for some reason, when we picked the trainer card, they were all including red. Now, I personally like the Reds Challenge. This is the Tag Team All-Stars one featuring the Bulbasaur PSA 9. That would be my pick. That is one of my favorite cards. It's a Japanese exclusive. You got red, you got Bulbasaur. The background's super flashy, it looks cool. Even PSA 9, it's just great to have that card, so that would have been my pick. And then between the other 2, red and blue full art ungraded English or Japanese full art PSA 10. I'm more of a slab guy, so I would have went with the Japanese red and blue and then put the full art red and blue last. I think maybe because the Reds Challenge was PSA 9 and people didn't like it as much, the community ended up picking the Japanese red and blue PSA 10, probably because it was the best of both worlds. It had the art of the, the same English Unbroken Bonds one, or Unified Minds, sorry, but it was in a PSA 10 slab, and it just looks better and it's more cohesive. So they went with that one. Wouldn't have been my pick, but we ended up picking that up for $120, a little bit under budget. Let me see, it's right here. It is cool. It's a tag team of trainers. There's not too many of them. And in PSA 10, it looks nicer in the slab. The Japanese holo foil is usually a lot more shinier and pronounced than English. So in the looks category, it's great. So we can't go wrong. It was just a little weird to see all choices have red in it. Like, what are the odds? They were all separate people. 12th round, $150 for sealed. The three options was a Journey Together Pokemon Center ETB. This was right at release, I believe. A Diamond and Pearl booster pack, and a Prismatic Evolution ETB. This time it's a regular one. Personally, I think the Diamond and Pearl booster pack would have been on the bottom of my list because, again, similar to the Blaziken EX, vintage, especially loose single packs, don't move that much, whether up or down. So I don't think there was a lot of upside on that. Prismatic Evolutions ETB, we already had the Pokemon Center one. I mean, at this point, it was a new set, so they probably would have reprinted it. And then the Journey Together Pokemon Center ETB, that literally just released. While it is Pokemon Center, it was under 100, I think it was like $90 at the time. So I think I would have went with the Prismatic Evolutions just because it's popular and people really want it. But I think to avoid duplicates and to avoid the brand new set, the chat went with Diamond and Pearl booster pack. So we got this one. I got the Palkia art. I believe this one cost only $100 or $120 if I'm not mistaken. It was pretty good. Look clean, good condition. I mean, you can't go wrong. Like I said, I love booster packs. I just don't think they have much room to grow in terms of value. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you buy loose booster packs and you don't really know what you're doing or looking for. But in general, I do think Diamond and Pearl, like the older sets, is a cool set to have. I just don't think they increase in price that much. But can't complain, we will see how it does. Next round, the 13th round was $350 sealed, so sealed again. The three items was a Japanese Remix Bout booster box again. This time we had a Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB. And then the last item was more Japanese 151 booster boxes. This time, again, I'm more of an English collector. I would have went with the Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB because it's not as reprintable as the regular one, and I think it'll hold a little bit better comparatively so. So I think it'll be a great set, probably one of the more it'll probably be the Evolving Skies of Scarlet and Violet era. That's what I would have went, and that is exactly what the community said as well. Out of the other two, I mean, 151 for me is better than Remix Bout, just because it's a little bit more popular and sought after, and Japanese booster boxes in general aren't too liquid. Most people don't even know about them, or they're not really trying to buy the booster boxes of those. They're trying to get like the English counterparts. So glad we got the Pokemon Center ETB added to our collection. That one cost us about $320. For the 14th round, this time it was another categories. We spun ETB, even though we just picked one. $450 for an ETB is a lot of money. So we had multiple picks. There was Hidden Fates. You could get, and oh, this one was a very weird round because you could have gotten multiple, but for some reason, everyone knew that, and they said they only wanted one specifically. So it was a $450 ETB round, but most of them didn't go over 200 bucks. So there was one Hidden Fates ETB, one Lost Origins Pokemon Center ETB, and then one Paldean Fates Pokemon Center ETB. Out of three out the gate, if you remember the celebrity pick I did earlier, I think Hidden Fates is an awesome pick, and right now that is so true. Looking back on it, I think they have almost doubled in price. Hidden Fates ETB, you got the Charizard, you got the Shinies. It's a great set. It was kind of like the 151 of past. It got a lot of people back into the game back then. Lost Origin Pokemon Center, cool thing, but when you're just comparing it to that, I don't think it's that great. When you're comparing it to the Hidden Fates, out of the two Lost Origin Paldean Fates, I would have went with Lost Origin just because I think the hits are better. I'd rather have the Giratina. Chat chose Hidden Fates. Thankfully, I was really hoping it because I just think it's a great buy. I think it's got a lot of room still, and so that's what we went with. Super happy is doing great right now. And yeah. So for the 15th round, we already had the $1,000 banger round. This time we got even higher of a budget, $1,500 for anything. This time they wanted me to do a celebrity pick as well. So for my option, I did 2 Van Gogh Pikachu PSA 10s because they were going for about $750 at the time. So you could fit 2 of those. The other 3 option was a Gold Star Mew PSA 7, a base set 2 Mewtwo Holo PSA 10, and then an Eevee Munch Japanese promo PSA 10. So besides my own pick, I do think the base set 2 Mewtwo Holo PSA 10 is vintage. And again, vintage typically does not move that much. That would have been on the bottom of my list. And the Gold Star Mew PSA 7 was an absolute great pick, but at the time, listing wise, it was so much more than the recent sold. I believe it was a $1,250 listing, and the recent comps on it were under $1,000. So it would have been kind of bad to buy that at the time. So because of that, I would have bought the Eevee Munch PSA 10, which was going for about $1,450. So you're maximizing your budget. Eevee, super popular Pokemon. The Munch is great series. Everyone likes the Van Gogh Pikachus. The original was the Munches. So can't go wrong with that. And the chat agreed. They said no to the 2 Van Gogh Pikachus, which is surprising. But they picked the Eevee Munch, the older original version. PSA 10, we picked that one up for $1,450. And this is it right here. It is a great card. You have the Eevee, cute, screaming, ah! And then I believe it's the Psyduck in the background, PSA 10. Usually people try to get the full set. Eevee is definitely, again, a popular pick. So you can't go wrong singling this one out. And recently, this one has done really well. So the person that picked this had great foresight. So probably one of the most exciting additions to the portfolio that we've had so far. There's 22 rounds in total. 16th round, the wheel was just lucky, I suppose. Another $1,000 anything round. So the 3 options was the stamped Pikachu PSA 10, the one with the lady and the Pikachu on the back. The Giratina V Alt Art Raw from Lost Origin. That one was a lot less, I believe like only $700. And then a Bubble Mew PSA 10 English. Again, I said you could have the same item twice. So someone picked the Bubble Mew PSA 10 English. Now for me, out of these 3, I think it's a no-brainer. The Stamped Pikachu PSA 10 is super cool. Japanese exclusive. It's a Pikachu promo. You got the lady there. The art style is very traditional, looks nice. Giratina V Alt Art Raw, those come a dime a dozen. Very volatile. And again, more of a slab guy. And because we already have a Bubble Mew PSA 10, I don't see why we need to. We're trying to diversify our portfolio. We already have the English and Japanese. We don't need a 3rd English one. So I would say the chat did a good decision there. And they also picked the Stamped Pikachu PSA 10 right here. Got the eBay sticker on it. But it's a very nice art. PSA 10, very unique. I'm super happy you guys picked it. Another great addition. So far, back-to-back bangers. 17th round, we had a $500 anything. So the 3 options was 5 Alakazam EX Fates Collide Near Mint Ungraded. That's a very cool card. It was one of the original kind of tag team cards featuring multiple Pokemon. 2 Cramorant stamp promos. So we just got the stamp Pikachu. To pair it off, it comes with the matching Cramorant, and we could have got 2 of those with that budget. And lastly was the Kyoto Maiko Han Pikachu PSA 10. That is something I've never heard of, similar to the spiky-eared Pichu. Never heard of it, never seen it before. So for me, I would have went with the Cramorant just because it would have been nice to pair it together, and you would have gotten 2, not just 1. And then I guess I would have went with the Kyoto Maiko Han Pikachu just because it looks very cool. And again, I'm a slab guy. It doesn't move, it's not as liquid, didn't have as many sales. So I was a little worried about that. And then lastly, I would not have picked the Alakazams just because they're ungraded, and 5 of them would have been cool though. So the chat completely disagreed with me. They did not put the Cramorant, maybe because we already had the better of the 2 stamps, so you don't really need the Cramorant. Most of the time people are just looking for the Pikachu anyway. This was another neck and neck tie between the Kyoto Maiko-Han Pikachu and the 5 Alakazam from Fates Collide. I think it's because the Alakazam does look very cool. You're getting 5 of them near mint, so a lot of upside. But the Kyoto Maiko-Han, similar to the spiky Pikachu, it's just something super unique. It looked very, very cool, and it's, you know, it's just a niche item that would kind of add more uniqueness to our portfolio. And it was neck and neck. I had to redo and do just both of them at the same time, and they were still, it was like 49-51%, another tie breaker. And similar to how we dealt with the Mew and Mewtwo, the Kyoto Maiko-Han was about $400, so we still had $100 left over, and the Alakazam EX Fates Collide were running 80-ish, 90-ish, so we were able to get one Kyoto Maiko-Han Pikachu, which they voted for because it technically won by like 1 or 2%. And then we got one Alakazam because everyone still wanted it. Half the people still wanted it and it fit in the budget. People still wanted it and it fit in the budget. So I did not. I tried again, similar to the similar to the Blaziken. I ordered the cheapest near mint I found on TCGPlayer, and when I got it, the condition was not great. So I ended up picking up a near mint PSA 8 copy, which is a lot better than the one we received in the mail. So we got this one. Again, you got Umbreon in the back. I believe it's Lugia. Yeah, Umbreon, Lugia, Alakazam. Super popular trio you got right there. So you can't go wrong with that. And then this is the Kyoto Maiko-Han. You get 2 Pikachus, so it's kind of like a tag team. Very, very cool pickups. And I like what the community is doing. They're not trying to get just a cookie cutter. Everyone has the same thing. Modern PSA 10. They're really diversifying. We're getting some great different items. All right, 18th round. This one was another categories. $300 for an alternate art. Now remember, could be anything. It could be graded. It could be ungraded. The 3 picks was a Lugia V alt art ungraded, Sylveon V PSA 10 from Evolving Skies, or the Slab V PSA 10. So I do think the Lugia V is a cooler card, but because it's ungraded, guys, I will always pick a Slab over ungraded. Out of the 2, Celebi V and Sylveon V, I think Sylveon is just a much more popular Pokemon. It's from Evolving Skies, a more popular set. So I would have went with Sylveon V, and the community agreed with me. It was a little bit close between the Lugia and Sylveon the Sylveon V, but the Sylveon V did end up winning. So we picked that one up right here. You guys know it. It's not a dime a dozen. I mean, it is very common, but guys, it's a great art. Sylveon V in the bakery, PSA 10, Evolving Skies. I think these will do well longer. So we're adding some more alt arts to our position. Very nice. For the 19th round, we're back on the anything, so people could choose whatever they want, and the budget was $500. So this time, the 3 picks with Dragonite V alt PSA 10, the Sleeping One Flying Evolving Skies, and the Japanese Misty's Tears PSA 10. That was a vintage card, very unique pick. It's a banned card as well, so a little bit infamous, known for its being banned. And then last but not least, a Sylveon EX from Prismatic Evolutions, ungraded, so just raw. Out of the 3, Dragonite V alt art, I mean, I'm a lot more comfortable buying modern PSA 10s for the super popular and sought after hits. So Dragonite V, of course, being one of those. Next, I would have picked the Japanese Misty's Tears. I've owned it a couple times before. I do think it is a cool card. It has a cool story, but it is a little bit more niche. You don't see it too often. It's not a holo. It's kind of more of a common card. And for that reason, I would have went with the Dragonite. And the Sylveon, not only is it ungraded, it is a new set, so more people are opening them over and over again, so the price should drop, which it did. And so I would not have picked that. Community agreed with me. They picked the Dragonite V alt PSA 10. We picked that up for $450, so right under budget. You guys have seen it before. Upside down, sleeping, got some Fearos in the background. Great artwork. Similar to the Sylveon, we are just adding more modern to our position. Now we are wrapping up. So for the 20th round, it was a $450 anything So for the 3 options, Eevee Heroes Booster Box. Those were once upon a time all the rage. Super, you couldn't like, they were going up, 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 up. Everyone was looking for them. They're still quite popular to this day, but not as much. And then there was a Japanese Snorlax Level X PSA 8. Now, I love Level X's, so that was a pretty cool addition. And last but not least, a Pokemon Center 151 ETB. Someone wanted a repeat one that we picked earlier, which is fine. But out of those 3, because we already had it, I would have already automatically eliminated the 151 ETB. Eevee Heroes Booster Box is cool, but the Snorlax Level X specifically is one of, if not top 2, favorite Snorlax cards they make. It's either the Level X or the Team Rocket Returns Snorlax. So getting that one in a PSA 8, and in Japan it was a Domino's promo, so it's even cooler. You know, Snorlax, Domino's, Slab, Level X. It's just great, guys. So I would have picked that, and then I wouldn't have been surprised if the Eevee Heroes won because the Snorlax is a little bit niche. So the community voted, and they also agreed that the Snorlax was a great pickup. But for the PSA 8 at the time, it was $400. And when I did a little bit more research, I saw that the PSA 9s were going for like $300 something. So I ended up picking up a PSA 9 just because why buy the PSA 8 for $400 when we could buy the PSA 9 for even less? So we got a free upgrade. We got the PSA 9. Look at that thing. The Domino's pizza promo, sticking out, it's reaching out of the box. You got the Level X shiny silver borders, the holo's fantastic. Diversifying the portfolio, it looks great, the eye candy, the eye appeal's there. So very happy we picked this one up. The second to last round, the 21st round, $500 anything. The 3 options was 2 Celebrations ETB Pokemon Center, so the slightly bigger, the black yellow, those are cool looking. The Hidden Fates Premium Powers Collection, that's a bigger box. And then an ungraded Psyduck Munch that was in played condition. Now, out of these 3, I would have eliminated the Psyduck Munch that was played. 1, Japanese cards are typically sought after because they're in such good condition, they're easier to grade. So getting one in played condition is kind of contradictory. Now, of course, it's only available in Japanese, but it's ungraded, it's played, and we already have, in my opinion, the better version, or one of the better Munches in the Eevee in a PSA 10, so do we really need the Psyduck? So because of that, I would have not bought that. The Hidden Fates Premium Powers Collection, we already have the ETB, and again, like I said with that Ho-Oh or the Primal Groudon collection, it'd be a lot better to just buy the packs, the ETBs or what have you, than the cooler looking but less value growing collection boxes. And because of that, I would have just went with the Celebrations ETB Pokemon Centers. That is exactly what the chat did as well. I think those look really cool. Celebrations 25th anniversary, 30th is around the corner, and the Pokemon Center ETB, of course, commanding the premium over the other one. It does look better. It's actually a different size. So nowadays, the Pokemon Center ETBs are the same size. It just says Pokemon Center with like a little different art. This one was a different art and it was a different size. It was bigger, there's more packs, all that. So it looks a lot better. I would have went with that, and so did the chat. So we added 2 of those for, I believe there were $220 each, so about $440. And the very last round. So at this point of the stream, we had about $1,430 left in our budget. I wanted to go out with a bang, so I let everyone vote, and we did a 5 round, so 5 people got to choose. So the 5 picks: 2 Dream League booster boxes, Japanese, the Surging Sparks booster box, a sealed case of 6 booster boxes, Shining Gyarados PSA 9 Vintage Neo, an Evolving Skies booster box, one of those, and then an Arceus Dialga Palkia Alt Art PSA 10 slab. Now this was quite the option. I think a lot of these were good picks. If I had to weed it out, I would say the Dream League booster boxes are, while they're very cool, again, they don't move as much. I mean, they already had their boom back then with the Japanese a couple years ago where it spiked, and then now they kind of back down. I don't see why I would go back up. So I'd probably eliminate that one first, even though you do get 2 of them and it does have good pulls. Next up, I would say The Evolving Skies booster box, just because again, I did think it was a little high at the time. There were probably, I think it was like 1,300 or so, which I thought was insane. It was already like on a non-stop rise. Didn't really believe in it too much at that price point. So I would have chosen something else after that. Now we're left with the Surging Sparks booster box case, Shining Gyarados PSA 9 and ADP Alt Arts. But I think comparatively, if they're the same price, I really like tag teams. So I would have the ADP Arceus Dialga Palkia Alt Art over the Shining Gyarados, even though that would have diversified our portfolio with a little bit more vintage. The chat decided, we did 2 rounds. The chat decided between all 5. They did the Surging Sparks booster box case, the ADP, and then the Evolving Skies booster box. That made it to round 2. And then out of those 3, the Surging Sparks booster box edged out and won the vote. So our final addition to our $10,000 community portfolio was a Surging Sparks booster box case that we picked up for like $13.70, so right under budget. I'm pretty happy with our thing. I'll do a little recap right now. We can go through, again, of course, all the sealed. So we have the Snorlax Level X, PSA 9, Dragonite V, Evolving Skies, Sylveon V, Alt Arts. I kind of separate them to see our mix of stuff. We have a Japanese Pikachu promo, that'll go over here. A little bit more middle era Alakazam, PSA 9. More Japanese exclusive, the Stamp promo, PSA 10. Can't go wrong. Honestly, looking through all of this, I will say the Eevee Munch is probably the best. It is the most expensive, but it is the best card we have. And I would say this would be a close second. We got some vintage in our stack as well. Diamond and Pearl booster box. We have the red and blue PSA 10 Japanese tag team. And then the Armored Mew Japanese as well. Mewtwo, I should say. Sorry, that one's going in. It looks like we're a little Japanese heavy. I think it's because can't go wrong with getting great art on a budget. English Mew, so more modern, PSA 10. And to follow that, the Japanese equivalent, the Mewtwo. We have a lot of Mew and Mewtwo in our portfolio. So we have the Shining Legends Mewtwo. That one's a great add. More vintage EX era Blaziken EX PSA 7. Another Japanese, the spiky eared Pichu PSA 10. This one was I would say this is my favorite unique pick that we've got so far. It's something you don't really see often. I think it does look really nice and has the opportunity to blow up in the future. The cheapest, smallest item we've got in our portfolio is the Pikachu Crown Zenith PSA 10. It looks great. And last but not least, for our non-sealed stuff, the Bulbasaur Stellar Crown PSA 10. So we're heavy in the Japanese modern and Japanese modern and then Japanese kind of promos and vintage are kind of split between. Then we have a good amount of the modern hits in a PSA 10, a little bit of mid-era in PSA 8 and 9, and then going back, we have some more vintage EX Diamond and Pearl. So we have all these slabs, 2 Pokemon Center Celebration ETBs, the 151 Pokemon Center ETB, Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB, the Evolving Skies ETB. I believe we picked the Umbreon one because that was the cooler. And then finally, the Surging Sparks booster box case. That wraps it up. I think we have a pretty diversified portfolio. You guys did a fantastic job picking out items for a $10,000 community portfolio. Let me know down below what you guys liked. What was your favorite pickup for our collection? And then what was your least favorite? And if there's anything you would change. That wraps up today's video. If you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a like and hitting that subscribe button. Also, if you're interested in bonus footage and early access to rough cut vendor POVs and other videos, then consider becoming a member down below next to the subscribe button. It's a great way to support the channel as well as getting extra perks. Big thank you to our current members. So for our Solar Beam supporters, we have Michael W, Adrian, Bitter Beings, Sticky Bjork, Lasse Kronborg, Rodriguez, Nixie, It's Dave, Zam, Silent Asian 89, Sylvius, and Katarina Castle, and our Razorleaf members Izzy, Will B, Liz Sawyer, Nick Musica, Jay Namath, Poketrainer Pat, Steely52, Darkest Bull, Flaccid Shrimp, Kevin's Barbecue Joints, Chasing Celebi, Chris Culver, Lamageddon316, ZMY11, The Sickness X, Scott Reynolds, Dokley, John Cloden, Slothy Arrow, and Todd Scott. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.